right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
Did you enjoy
What's up?
Dinner last night?
Bean soup, black bean soup, I believe was the recipe of choice last night. It was a difficult evening. There's no question about that.
I'll tell you what. There's people that they're starting to chirp me because I got a couple today, and they said, "Oh, dog, who are you kidding? You just jump on board with Luke." Me and Luke talk every morning. Every morning, I give him my 2 cents, and I gave him he left it up to me because I was like, take the Jags all day long. They're going to crush them. And right at the last second, you want to talk about hashtag TG. He said, no, we're going with Kurt Browning. My boy Kurt Browning.
Kurt Browning last night. He was doing triple axles all over that place. Yeah. What a football game. And the only thing I could think of afterwards was, why did they not have a golf cart there to drive Trevor Lawrence to the locker room?
Making him walk off. That's amateur hour.
Absolute amateur hour.
I think from the golf community said, nowhere in the world is there more golf carts than Jacksonville.
Right.
Why isn't that guy on a golf cart?
It was crazy watching him struggle to get off the field, which you gut it out. Obviously, he knew he was in pain. He had an injury. It turns out it was a high ankle sprain. It's not going to end his season, but it's going to be eerily similar to what Mahomes went through last year, remember. And still, Mahomes performed well, won a Super Bowl. But this isn't just about getting through a game or two. Like, they got to play a bunch of games and get into the playoffs. But once he's walking down the tunnel, get that guy on a cart. Basically half the people in the state of Florida have their own personalized golf cart.
Yes.
And the Jags don't have one.
4,000 parked outside the stadium. People drove them there.
Right. There probably were personalized golf carts outside of the stadium.
At least bring out a stretcher, or in soccer they have two guys that run out with the stretcher or whatever. Like, put them on something.
Noodles. Every football game, there's like an ambulance golf cart. There's a golf cart to wheel players into the locker room. And this guy's agonizing his way down the tunnel. I'm like, what a bunch of dummies.
Amateur
That's your whole organization.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, the coach, the offensive coordinator, firemen carry him out of there. Put him on your back. Like, do whatever. Like, I'm watching that, and it was painful to watch him walk off. It was painful.
It was really painful. And you're right. Like, that's the most important player in franchise history, and it's not even close. There is not a close second. And they're letting that guy limp up the tunnel. It's insanity what happened last night.
You and your boy better come up with something. I'm telling you what. If you don't come up with something, here's a statement for you. You and Al's brother are going to get flexed off the show. And it might be me and my Partsy Luke versus Davis Sanchez and Takia Singh or something.
Yeah,
if you guys don't pick it up, you're going to get flexed.
Well, that is a distinct possibility. Like, the idea of us getting flexed off my own show would be really humiliating.
No, it's not off the show. It's just off the segment.
Off the picks.
Like, if you and Al's brother continue to take dumps, you're going to get flexed off this part of the show.
Wouldn't that be incredible if we got flexed off and, like Davis and Takia came in and I just had to sit here and witness it or basically host
you're just the host.
I'd be hosting it.
Okay, who do you guys want this week?
Yeah, who do you guys want?
That's a great pick. Okay, good luck with that.
Moving on to the 4 p.m. window, and O'Win Willson, you guys are on the clock here.
You will be Bob Barker and just hosting the segment.
Yes.
And that's it if you don't get it together. The other guy, we're going to punt him too if he doesn't pick it up.
Yeah, it's concerning. It's concerning.
Did he even surface yesterday? Like, was he on the group chat? Like,
we had a cold call him today because he's MIA. Where is he?
He and I had our own separate chain going, which will continue, and will continue to be silent. I'm not going to pull a Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, here and reveal what's going on between myself and Al's brother. But I will say, we need a miracle here. It's 28-3. There's no denying that. We're in deep, and the march will begin on Thursday. That's all I'm going to say. There will be more proposals between now and Thursday. And luckily for us, there's a lot of distractions in the sports world, right? Like, a lot of people are mocking us, but You guys are on Twitter. You guys are on Instagram. Everything right now is about Shohei Ohtani. It's the only thing that matters, to the point where there was a report by Ken Rosenthal that immediately becomes one of the most referenced reports probably in Blue Jay history, right? The fact that Ohtani was in Dunedin. Like, that alone might go up on the level of excellence. They might put the Rosenthal tweet up beside like Cito Gaston and Tony Fernandez. Just a tweet saying that Ohtani was in Dunedin. Like, it's that substantial to the point where people are freaking out now, and I can understand why.
I can understand why, but I do find the minute-by-minute update of one tweet is he was in the practice facility in Dunedin, and then the next, some other guy comes over the top and he's like, I don't know if they are front runners, and it's and I'm just like, I get it. This is one of the
the biggest, though.
It's the biggest of all sports of any time, but I'm just like, let's make a decision here. Like, it's almost like people climbing on top of each other has almost taken away from it, where I'm like,
oh, I totally disagree.
Oh, you could watch
totally
the tweets all day long.
I could, because once it's over, it's over, and if he doesn't come here, it's done. Right? Like in Toronto, you still have some life. In Chicago, you got life with the Dodgers, with the Giants, with the Angels.
On 4 days now.
Who cares? This is great for business. If McDavid was a free agent and was flying around North America, would you be saying just pick? I think we'd be saying this is amazing. If Mahomes was a free agent and flying around, if, whoever you want to pick in the NBA.
I thought the Kawhi situation was a reasonable ending. He flew, they showed the jet, and then the next day he said Clippers. It wasn't like practice facility, now the Giants are in, now, Dave Roberts talked to him. I just think it's been dragging on a little bit, where I'm like, we're on 4 days of this now.
I'm excited because I swear he'll never, ever tell anybody this, but when he chooses a team, I want to know the one thing that put him over the top.
Noodles, he won't tell you. He wouldn't tell people his dog's name.
I understand that, but I'm just saying.
I'm not kidding. He would not tell people his dog's name.
Very private guy.
I'm not joking. He did not reveal the name of his dog. He won't do it.
That might be a lost in translation thing. Like, I do wonder about that. But I read that. That was a little bit strange.
Like, can you imagine saying to somebody, cool dog, like, what's his name? I'm just not
I'm not telling you. Okay. So do you want to hit third, seconds? What do you like to eat in the pregame? I don't know where else we're supposed to go here.
Can you imagine he walked into the practice facility in Dunedin with his dog on a leash, and Schneider said, hey, cool dog, what's his name? Don't worry about it. Let's move.
Just shut your yap.
Shut your yap. And where's the cold tub?
Well, I'll tell you what. If he's being interviewed and you let a fart go, he's walking out the door.
Yes, he would.
Was that real?
Last night with Vasilevsky? I think so. I mean, we have the tape. It
was a greasy one. Like, it sounded like the person had no gear on. It was flubbery. I don't understand how he kept a straight face and didn't just say, what is up with you?
He barely did. I mean, do we have it, JP? All right, this was Vasilevsky. Did he end up with a shutout last night?
Yeah, so 1-4.
Yeah, they complete redemption because he got pulled on the weekend in Dallas. Dallas crushed them like 8-1. They go home last night. Tampa with a big win. Vasilevsky plays well. Naturally, he's got a scrum after the game, and people are asking him about the performance, and this is what happened last night.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't great feeling last game, but
no gear on.
What was the question? Mine's so just sorry. I mean,
there's a reason that guy's won 2 cups. Like, that is concentration. That's a guy who has been in the net for, 5 overtimes?
Yeah. But has anybody brought up the idea that it could have been him?
Well, I thought, was that him, or was that because he didn't look at somebody? Like, right away you would go, who did that? Like, would you point that out? Because there's probably 5 or 6 scribes there. And, we could probably find out. We know enough people in Tampa. Like, I bet you if we reached out to Dave Randorf or somebody and be like, who was that in the scrum? Like, somebody is going to get pointed out and be like, yeah, that was this person.
Yeah. It
was just weird.
I didn't get the impression that was Vasilevsky. I think that was someone, close to his stall. And then
with
what
a
he
mic,
was,
yeah.
Yeah, and he had his hat down, his brim down, and he was just trying to grind through it, right? Like he was trying to get through it. Even the reporters were like, what the hell's going on in here? Like, because you guys have been in dressing rooms. There's some wild stuff that goes on in there. And guys that are doing their own thing that aren't, dealing with the media or whatever, they're just either trying to get in, trying to get out, or they've been doing it so long. Like last night, they were celebrating Hedman's 1,000th game. Yeah. Like, you've been in the league 1,000 games, 1,200 games. You couldn't care less about who else is in there. That's your sanctuary. You're going to do whatever you want.
Player? It might have been a player that walked out of the showers.
Absolutely, I think so. I think it was a player. And, it made me think of remember the Chan-Ho Park post game when he was with the Yankees?
Diarrhea.
Yes.
That wasn't Chan-Ho Park.
I believe it was. I thought. No. Look that up. Try to find that, Doogie. It's probably you were probably 4 years old when this was. I'm pretty sure it was Chan-Ho Park.
With the Red Sox, maybe, not the Yankees.
No, he was with the Yankees because Rivera was in the background. I remember Rivera was getting dressed behind him, and he couldn't believe it. He was incredulous behind him. He was looking over at him. I'm pretty sure it was Rivera. Yeah, I looked it up right here. It's Chan-Ho Park with the Yankees, and I can give you the exact date, April 7th, 2010. That's early in the season. Yeah, Chan-Ho Park. We'll find that. We'll play that a little bit later. Not that it's the same as what happened last night with the Tampa Bay Lightning, but anyway, we've got a big show today. Jim Duquette will join us. He's a former MLB GM. He's coming up later in the hour. Keegan Matheson, everyone's down there in Nashville. Nothing's happened, though, right? To your point, about wanting it to happen, I think from a standpoint of letting the rest of the league do business, I'll grant you that. Now, like I said yesterday...
But my point is there's so much back-channeling done in work prior to these dates. It's not like this just came upon Ohtani. I always just figure the player has it in his mind where he's going, Hayes. I get it, how everyone is jacked up. There's a guy that works in our building, Paul Ross, who he is tweeting every minute. He has had Jay's freak. He is tweeting every minute about possible scenarios and how fired up he is about this guy signing. There are some people that are just, I would hate to see the devastation if he doesn't.
Well, you better brace for it, right? Because it's not a lock that he's signing here, obviously. I would say at best it's 50-50 now, right? I do think what has changed is the shock of it happening, that's no longer there. Right? You're no longer shocked if he signs because the reports are out there. He was in Dunedin. It's and
it's not just the Jays saying they're in on it. This man was at their facility.
Right.
This is real deal.
Yes.
There's probably a 30-40% chance that this guy might sign with the Jays.
Absolutely. That's what it seems like. They're legitimate candidates here. This isn't just a flyer. We'll take a call, a gratuitous call because you're good guys. If he flew from LA to Dunedin, that's a long flight. That's him legitimately checking out what's going on within the facility. That's big.
Does that make you look, if somehow he lands him, does that make you look at the Jays management a lot different now, considering, what we've witnessed the last couple of years, we'll call it?
Absolutely. It's a career-making signing.
I know, but you don't know if it was their idea. Maybe it was ownership that said, go out there and get some big fish, and they said, okay, because Philip said it yesterday. This is not in their DNA for this type of activity. It's not. It never has been in Cleveland or Toronto. So maybe they were told, go and get somebody big.
I don't think there's any doubting that. You can't get to a big fish like this where you're spending $400-500 million without the owner being at the forefront of it, pushing for it. You can pitch it,
right?
But ultimately, the owner's got to really see the whole plan and have a bigger understanding of why it makes sense from a business standpoint on top of a baseball standpoint. That's another thing when it comes to Ohtani. And this is where I think the Jays are a little bit different, certainly than the Dodgers. Yes, the Dodgers are a massive brand and business is important and they sell tickets and they make a lot of money. But that's going to be there anyway. And if they bring in Ohtani, I think from a Dodgers perspective, it will be perceived as they did that to win ball games. Where if the Jays sign him, it'll be perceived as they did it to sell tickets and merchandise and, grow their brand. Where, you should be marrying the two. When the dust settles, the excitement of this guy signing wherever he's going to sign, you realize you just signed the best player in the game. The reason he's going to make $500 million is because he's the best player in the game. And you're bringing in a guy who's going to hit like 45, 50 bombs, and if his arm returns to form, he's going to be one of the best 8 or 10 starting pitchers in baseball. Mm-hmm. So it's a combination of everything in terms of the brand, in terms of the promotion, the marketing, but also just simply building a winning ball club. And it's incredibly exciting. I can't see how you wouldn't be if you're a Blue Jay fan. I think we're used to building up excitement and then having it be deflating in the end. So I think this fan base is going to be very prepared for that. Like if he signs with the Dodgers in an hour, it'll be like, all right, we move on. Like that. I'm not too worried about the aftermath because I think Blue Jay fans have been here before. Toronto sports fans have been here before. But if it lands, I do think it'll be more appreciated here, certainly than in L.A. with the Dodgers. Not that Dodger fans won't love him, but
here we go.
It's the truth.
Are you going there with L.A. and the Dodgers now?
No, but my point is the Dodgers, they've won World Series. They've got Kershaw. They've got Mookie Betts. They have Freddie Freeman. The Jays, they haven't had that same level of success.
Transactionally,
that's what I mean.
The element of surprise would be that much greater. Or not surprised.
Like the pride that would come with it, I guess.
Overall
is what I'm
appreciation
yes.
for the dynamics of this transaction.
That's all I'm saying. That's all. Yes. And believe me, the Jays aren't alone. And the Jays wouldn't be on the top of that list in terms of the league. Like the Pirates fans would appreciate it more. Rays fans would appreciate it more. Like there are other markets below the Jays. The Jays have been big players for a long time. They got a top 10 payroll. They have made big acquisitions. They have signed guys. They have traded for big names. They've had guys who have won MVPs. They've been to the playoffs. Like the Jays are not some run-of-the-mill team, but compared to the Dodgers, it's like the Dodgers, Yankees, Sox, maybe the Giants, maybe the Cubs. Like that's your elite of the elite.
There's only one positive way out of this, though, man. If they don't get Soto or Ohtani, I'll tell you what. You want to talk about a fan base that you said would be so jacked up if one of these things happen. If none of them do. Yeah, they got their work cut out for you, man.
They do.
Yeah.
They absolutely do. But listen, there's another element to it that I mentioned on the morning show today. Like, the fact that he's Japanese, he's not American, and the American media just can't wrap their head around that. Like, they can't understand the idea of leaving L.A. for Toronto. But we've spoken with guys who have been in Japan. I remember speaking with Feshchuk when he was there for the Olympics a few years ago. He said you wouldn't believe how massively popular this guy is in Japan. He is one of one. Like he is to Japan what Messi is to Argentina, what Ronaldo is to Portugal. And the point being is this guy could play anywhere, and that's not going to change his popularity back home.
No.
Right? If he's a Dodger, it doesn't matter in Japan. It doesn't matter if he plays for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. They don't care. He's still the king. So I got to play for a big brand in the States. I'm not sure it matters that much to him. Well, and it kind of evens the playing field for the Blue Jays.
You guys know I ended my career and played in Japan. Mm-hmm. And, why I went over there is one of my best friends has Japanese descent. And he went and got his passport, and we went over and, we finished our careers together. There's a huge Japanese population out west, like huge.
Right.
Like he would be. Now, I wouldn't know the numbers compared to the U.S. I'm sure there's, it's huge in the U.S. But he would be a god in Canada as well.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Very, I could see, now, maybe this is just wishful thinking. You're right. He can do the LA thing, but he's not like LeBron. He doesn't want to spin this into movies and be walking in with wine and all of that. Like,
Thank
if
God.
anything, no, you're right.
He's very
but there
private.
is a chance. Like, I was thinking about that this afternoon. If this guy is private and just wants to go about his business, to be honest, Toronto might be a better fit for him as far as the organization and listen, it's Canada's team, really. You'd be representing a country.
Impromptu
I'm
confirm
excited.
or deny. If Kikuchi is a main part in Ohtani landing here, he automatically deserves a 2 to 3 year extension.
Yes, of course. Immediately, if he is the mediator to bring this in, if he is the closer, so to speak. Yeah. Yes. And Kikuchi pitched incredibly well last year anyway. Guy's a stud.
How far do you let him stretch it, though, Hazy?
I think it's a 3-year deal. Then you tell Kikuchi, you got to relax, right? Like, we'll tack on another 3, which means he's got this year left. It basically means it's a 4-year deal. You and Ohtani, make sure everyone's happy. And, I think Kikuchi's value would skyrocket, clearly, here in Toronto. But
I love it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, it could break any moment now. It may be another week to it. Who knows? I mean, again, we don't even know the guy's dog's name, let alone his plans. But Jim Duquette will join us in about 10 minutes. Keegan Matheson coming up later this afternoon. Mike Johnson will join us. We've got, actually in Vancouver, it's a big night because you got Christine Sinclair obviously playing her final match for Canada tonight against Australia. And then down the street, you got the Hughes brothers all in action, the same game. You got Quinn for the Vancouver Canucks and Luke and Jack playing for the Devils. I'm looking forward to that game. It's going to be a good game. And I saw on FanDuel, it's actually like a pick'em. And I guess what FanDuel is basically saying is they're waiting for New Jersey to finally come alive, and maybe they're assuming that could start tonight.
It might. I mean, I don't know. They can't get a save. I was looking at, if you look at save percentage, like New Jersey's right near the bottom. And the bottom 4 teams, 2 of them have had their coaches fired already.
Right.
So the other 2.
Interesting correlation there.
Yeah.
I think New Jersey's insane if they don't make a play for somebody because you never know when you could win. And they were so good last year, and they got some of the best players up front. I just think it's a disservice to the team to keep putting guys in there that can't make a save. And Noodles, I understand it's not all on the goaltender. Dougie Hamilton has been sleeping out there, and he's been called out. Your boy, both of your guys, Dougie Hamilton.
Well, Dougie's hurt now, so he ain't playing. He's not going to play anytime soon.
Top 50 Dougie.
Top 50 Dougie's long-term IR Dougie.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I hear you. The problem is, like, where are you finding these goalies?
Dude,
that's the issue because Edmonton's got the problem. New Jersey's got the problem. There's a number of teams league-wide. Now you got Markstrom, who's injured out in Calgary, and they're not going to acquire anybody.
The league has proven in the past, no matter how much of a bind you're in, there's a way out of it, and there's a way to find something.
Yeah,
you can make something work if you need it. If you need it bad enough. You saw a report?
Right, on Markstrom getting injured yesterday. There was several reports out there.
Yes, there were a lot of reports.
That was reported.
Sounds like you had a fractured finger, though, out week to week. Is that what they were saying?
That's what they're saying, and that Dustin Wolf kid's been called up, which,
he's good.
That's fine, right? They'll be fine with him and Vladar, but Markstrom might be a guy that if they decide to trade him, there's your guy. Like, maybe that's the guy you're calling on saying, what do we have to do to make that work? John Gibson's name is always coming up in Anaheim, but these are guys with a lot of tickets.
I like the kid in San Jose, that Blackwood. I think he's a really good goaltender. I've heard he's a goalie. You know how goalies are out there. I've heard he's a goalie. That's what I keep hearing. But he's got skill. He's a really good goaltender. Who knows? And obviously San Jose, I'm sure, would be willing to flip him. Like, I would guess they're willing to trade basically anybody at this point if you're willing to pay the price. But, even you look at Ottawa's in action tonight, their goaltending hasn't been good. Nope,
it's really struggled.
Hasn't been good enough.
Big reason why they're in the position they're in right now. Corpusalo, they give them all that money, all that term, not playing well. And, if you look at where the Leafs are at, again, if Wall was not in a position where he was playing the way he's playing. Like, he's been really good for them. I think one of their 3 or 4 best players, certainly one of their 3 or 4 most important players. But if he looked like a rookie and looked like a backup, that conversation would have been on the shores of Lake Ontario right now. Like, we'd be talking about it in Toronto because Samsonov has been MIA and not been playing that well. So if, Justin Wall had not been playing the way he's been playing, or Joseph Wall not been playing the way he's been playing, those conversations, they don't have to be that far away, right? They can always be right around the corner.
You're right. And you know what? If Samsonov doesn't stabilize and Wall kind of takes a dip here, we will be talking about it. Mm-hmm. If the team defense continues to be beat up and I expect this team, the way they played 2 years ago last year, to be a lot more buttoned up. Lots of time left. I'm not pressing the panic button, but I'd like to see a little bit more consistency with that group, period. And, they've got some time. They have some practice time here. They don't play till Thursday, right, in Ottawa. I will be doing the game. Oh, you'll be there, I think, too. And
you guys are all going to be in the house.
I think that'll be a good game. It should be fun.
Me and Hayes' buddy, Mark Mathot.
Oh, yeah. You and Meth are you guys doing like a cross panel? Is that kind of what's happening?
I think it's a super panel. That's what I heard for both broadcasts. Yeah, a super panel.
Okay.
So it's
I like it. I like it. A super panel. You guys better bring your A stuff. You've taken notes on what a super panel looks like. Okay, well, there you go. And Mike Johnson, Johnny's in Ottawa calling the game tonight. Johnny will join us just after 5 o'clock. There's a lot of rumors out there, obviously, in the baseball world. There's some stuff coming out of the Board of Governor meetings as well in Seattle on what's happening in the NHL in the future. John Rahm rumors continue to pop up. There's a lot going on out there.
John Rahm, if he goes to live and this merger doesn't happen or whatever, the PGA Tour could be taking a massive hit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's back to full-blown panic mode with the PGA.
If what's his name, Cantley and Schauffele follow in behind, you can't stop guys leaving for $300 million offers. You can't do it.
No, that's it.
Right.
And if they're going to get into the majors anyway, which we saw, I think that
that's all they care about. They don't want to play in the Honda haze.
That's exactly what became clear. Is Brooks Koepka showed the way. Brooks Koepka proved, go play live, wear your shorts, make 100 sheets, but then be prepared for the majors, and you'll compete and win. And he did that. And the second he did that, I think Rahm looked at it and said, what the hell am I doing? Why am I grinding at the John Deere Classic? Why am I playing a Pro-Am with Bryan Hayes or whoever else when I could just go to live and do whatever the hell I want? It's a real concern. It is a concern.
Cash is king. I keep telling you.
If it's $300 million, wow. Exactly. I mean, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get bitterness on tour. Like Koepka's going to say, why did I take 125? This guy's getting 300. Like I get
Rahm's offer is a lot more than 300. I'll tell you that. I thought the number associated with Rahm was 600.
It's not going to be that much. But I've seen 300 plus like equity in his own team, and if they sell the team, he makes money on that. They're trying to get all creative, and I guess I saw it today. I believe like the Amex, which he won last year. They announced their field, they're part of the field, and he wasn't announced today. Like, that's not a good sign. So, anyway, more on that with Confirm or Deny later this afternoon. We'll head down to the winter meetings in Nashville, catch up with Jim Duquette. What's he hearing on Ohtani, Soto, the Jays? That and more next. All right, I found the one guy. I knew he was out there. Didn't take long. Gary Roberts tweeting in. Not the Gary Roberts.
Jerry Roberts.
Yeah, Jerry Roberts tweeting in.
This guy always tweets in fake Gary Roberts, I call him.
Yeah, Jerry Roberts. He's got a mustache and everything. He said it would be an idiotic signing to sign Ohtani. He said it's a completely lunatic signing that is going to blow up in someone's face. I just can't imagine.
Give a reason why?
No reason whatsoever. I just cannot imagine living in a world where you would think, imagine Ohtani signed with the Jays and you were actually disappointed.
The best player in the game, like a freak. The guy can pitch. The guy can hit.
But
it's like.
What was his reasoning, though? Like
there is none. There is none, Noodles. It's just.
Well, I'll give him a chance. Fake Gary Roberts.
Yeah, Jerry Roberts. Send in a follow-up, Jerry.
Let us fake know. Jerry Roberts. Send in a follow-up tweet with why this is so bad.
Yeah. I want to study the mindset because that's a dark thought, man. Could you imagine thinking this would be
Okay, let me ask you this. What if you paid him like he was going to pitch? Mm-hmm. Because you said yesterday he wants to be treated like he can 100% healthy pitching.
Yeah.
What if he never pitches again?
Well, that's the concern of ownership that's going to pay him, right? And
I'm just saying maybe this is what Jerry's talking about.
Well, I guess what Jerry and others, if there are others, might be thinking is if you give him a 12-year deal, or the last 3 or 4 years, is he Pujols in Anaheim? Is he Miggy in Detroit? Is it, what you're seeing with Stanton in New York? Is it just a beaten down player where you're paying him a fortune and he's not supplying anything?
Yeah, that Albert Pujols deal, I don't think he was out, very quickly he turned into not Albert Pujols, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, right. Understandably. Yeah. Listen, I get it, but I guess what you'd have to make sure if you're ownership that this is a completely separate transaction from the rest of the organization and the rest of the payroll and the way that you operate. In other words, it's almost like a franchise tag. It's like we're giving Ohtani this money, but it's just on the side. And everything else is going to continue to run as if we didn't get him. So if it turns out to be injuries or his game falls off or whatever, we're still going to pay other players to try to be competitive. And if he has to move down the lineup, so be it in 5 years, 6 years, or whatever. All right, let's head down to Nashville, catch up with Former MLB executive. You hear him on MLB Network Radio. You see him on MLB Network. Here is Jim Duquette back on OverDrive. Hearing anything, Jim? What's your timeline on Ohtani actually making a decision?
How we doing, guys? The timeline, it was a little unfortunate when I first got here Saturday evening. Bob Nightingale, USA Today, had said, he doesn't expect him to sign until next week. But and most everyone else that I talked to felt like it was going to happen. It was lining up to during the next couple of days in winter meetings. But it looks like Nightingale might be more accurate. And I'll give you a little more insight. I talked to Farhan Zaidi, who's in on the Ohtani sweepstakes. He's the president of baseball operations for the Giants, and he had said that in terms of the free agent market, it was just starting the negotiation phase. He wasn't specifically talking about Ohtani, but the topic was Ohtani. So there are all these executives, including Ross Atkins, dancing around whether they even met with him. Can't even acknowledge a flight from Dunedin, Florida, to Nashville. Like all this, back and forth conversations, but can't really acknowledge it. And the best we can tell, and I can tell, it sounds like this may go into next week, the negotiation.
What do you think Ohtani is waiting for a guy that's been around the block in the league and been to different cities? Like, what do you think is the one thing that's going to push him over the edge as far as the decision? He's been to Dunedin. He's met with the Dodgers. I don't know what he's done with the Giants, but what in your mind, Jim, will put this over the top?
Well, I think the we'll call it the second phase. So they've been trying to narrow it down, right, which they've started to do. We heard that a couple of days ago. We heard Red Sox out. I believe it. Rangers, Mets out. I don't know if the Mets were really in it, but they publicly now are out. And I think what ends up happening is that next phase, Ohtani's got a visit, which I think he might have concluded yesterday. That's what it seems like. He might have one other team he hasn't gone to yet. Again, the timing of this is kind of odd. The agent's the agent is suffering the wrath of the industry right now in Nesbolello because, there's no reason that they should have or had to pull Ross Atkins out of the meetings in Nashville to go to Dunedin. Like, this could have been done in advance of these meetings here in Nashville. I understand why Ross did it, and, that everything's kind of based on the timing of the agent and the player. But I think right now the negotiation phase is like, all right, well, we know that the number, probably the floor is $500 million. Make your best offer. Let's go. And he's kind of whittling it down to I would assume a final 2 or 3, something along those lines. But it doesn't sound like he's there yet. And I think that's the big holdup is no one's been asked to make their final offer, which, by the way, is usually like a second step before you make your final offer.
With Jim Duquette. So there were reports early in this process, I think Jeff Passan of ESPN reporting that, any leaks about the negotiations or the process could be held against said team. And you mentioned right. Atkins, John Schneider was in Nashville today. We presume John was down there in Dunedin as well. And they played by the rules. They didn't say a word. Yep. They wouldn't talk at all. And then Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, comes out today and is like, yeah, we met with him a couple of days in L.A., Dodger Stadium. It was great. Little get-together. Yeah. Like, do you read anything into the Jays abiding by the rules and Dave Roberts apparently throwing caution to the wind?
I think that one's fascinating because literally ran into a couple of people that were near Dave after he had said that, and he might have gone a little too far on the Mookie Betts conversation, which was they announced yesterday he's going to be playing full-time second base. I don't think the organization was quite ready to have that out in the public realm. So apparently he got into a little bit of trouble there. And, in this particular situation, hey, maybe the agent won't hold it against the Dodgers, but yeah, it would be a different standard if everyone else is adhering to it. By the way, even the Angels adhering to it. We couldn't get Ron Washington, their new manager, or Perry Menezes, their GM, to talk about that. And I mean, he was their player. Like, we couldn't get him to talk about it. So everybody seems to be adhering to it. If this, I would be surprised though if the agent knocked the Dodgers out of the conversation because of that. So, yeah, it seems like there is a double standard. I would admit that for sure.
So let's play the role here and assume he signs with the Blue Jays.
Yep.
The Jays, will still need a third baseman. They need to figure out what they're going to do at second, probably figure out what they do in left field. But if you sign Ohtani and then you come back with the rest of the nucleus that, won a bunch of ball games, made the playoffs, but it's kind of flat all year, and we know what happened against the Twins in the wild card round. Just adding Ohtani with those other, submissions, the other guys that have left, how much better do you think they are? How much closer are the Blue Jays to winning a World Series?
Well, I think a lot of the issues that they had last year offensively would clear up, right? And you saw some of that in the second half with their hitting for the runners in scoring position. It was abominable first half. But I think you have a more consistent lineup, obviously, with Ohtani there offensively. Like you said, how you fill those other needs, maybe Whit Merrifield plays a little more than you're originally thinking about because you don't have as much payroll to finish out the roster. But I will say this: if you go down this road and get Ohtani, and you're going to spend the dollar amount, why would you leave a couple of these holes open and go with younger players? You might as well finish the job, right? So I would be curious. As much as it would be a shock in the industry that they're the highest bidder overall, because it hasn't been the nature of the front office there to be, industry standard setting, numbers here for Ohtani. Say they do it, like you mentioned. Well, are you really going to sit there and say, well, for another $10 or $15 million extra, you're not going to finish out the rest of the positions of need? That seems crazy to me.
Jim, what's your gut telling you? Where do you? I'm kind of like, as a guy from Toronto, San Fran kind of scares me for some reason. It's like, I think people are looking at them as like the third team, but I'm almost like they're the third team / front runner, and it makes me nervous. What is your gut telling you?
So I've felt all along it was going to be the Dodgers because of what I was hearing with their, and first off, you look at how they kind of handled this. They reduced their payroll over a year ago. They went with a bunch of young players. Then their president, Andrew Friedman, president of baseball ops, has been, we were told, obsessed with getting Ohtani. Like, there's a lot of things pointing, the Dodgers have a ton of money, really close to where, he's been playing there in Anaheim. They win. He's fit so many different criteria that, again, we're just guessing. But, some of the things that Ohtani has said over time. San Francisco is, to me, the sleeper in the sense that who knows where they'll go, right? I think to your point, like the GM is on the hot seat. They're desperate for a star player. And the market after Ohtani is pretty dull for them, although I think they would be in on Yamamoto and Bellinger. But I do think that it's a possibility that they push the price tag up on everyone, but then Ohtani ends up taking a little less, not a lot less, but a little less to go either to L.A. or Toronto. I think in the end, he's still going to end up at Dodgers, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, we will wait and see. And everyone else has to wait too, right? It's got to be frustrating down there in Nashville to an extent. Yeah, because nothing else happens.
We're all here waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, well, good luck with that, Jim. Thank you for doing this.
See you guys. All right, thanks for having me. Bye.
Jim Duquette of MLB Network.
Yeah, but it's not like they're not in somewhere in Alabama or something. They're in Nashville. Like, they're all sitting at Tootsie's drinking, waiting for an announcement.
How long are they going to stay there? Like, are they locked into Nashville for a month?
No. It's a few days. It's the same every year. The winter meetings, they move around. They're in Nashville. They're in Orlando. They've been, they've jumped around. And they get together. They do the MLB, the winter meetings. Everyone convenes, and they go on, their merry way after a few days, and that'll be the case. I guess as of tomorrow, I think they're out of there. But usually, like historically, this is where a ton of stuff happened. Like tons of signings, trades, rumors, and now the league is effectively just on pause until Ohtani makes a decision. And yet, it's the unicorn of the sport. It's the biggest star of the sport. It's the best player of the sport. It's not like they're waiting for some guy who's like, a third rotation type pitcher or something, third guy in the rotation. This is worthy of the buildup. and the suspense. But we'll see. Keegan Matheson will join us later this afternoon. More on, I guess, what Ross Atkins is saying, because I think he's going to speak with the media here any moment now. I can't imagine there'll be any more updates, but we'll see what Keegan can tell us later this afternoon. Claire Hanna coming up from Vancouver as well, ahead of Christine Sinclair's final match for Canada. We'll catch up with Claire in a couple of hours. And Mike Johnson in about 20 minutes. He's in Ottawa, Sens Rangers tonight. You got the Hughes brothers playing in Vancouver. Lots going on in the NHL. We'll get to that with Johnny. Confirm or deny still to come as well. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Mike Johnson will join us in about 15 minutes. The Board of Governor meetings continue out in Seattle. And I guess Bettman was asked about international hockey, and it looks like they're going to do that, or they're aiming towards doing that 4-country World Cup, like a mini World Cup, likely next year. Canada, U.S., Finland, Sweden. And I guess they're meeting with the IOC, I think, later this week with the intention of getting there in 2026 to the Olympic Games, but the rink has not been built yet in Italy. And even Bettman said a little bit concerning that hasn't started yet.
It's going to be an outdoor rink. That's what it's going to be.
That would be hilarious if the Olympic Games were outdoors. But
did you say they haven't started?
They do not have a shovel in the ground. Like I don't even know if they have like an architect who has put together the plans.
How's that
and
even
an engineer.
possible?
I don't really understand it
Italy
either.
is a pretty relaxed country.
Seems very relaxed. But
unless they got some kind of thing in writing where it's like, this is going to take a year to put up, and I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, I don't have the answers for you. I'm sure there is an explanation for it, but regardless of the NHL's going or not, hocky will be played there.
Yes.
The Winter Games. So
that's right. There needs to be a rink.
Yeah, it's kind of mandatory. But I did find the tone about going to the Olympics a little bit different, right? Like Bettman has always been kind of abrasive and pushing back and almost like snippy. Like, we'll tell you when we're ready to go. And this time he kind of sounded like, yeah, we're going to go if there's a rink. We'll probably be there in 2026. So
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's long overdue, right?
Big time. And it's good for players that haven't had that opportunity. McDavid will get his first sniff at that, right?
Isn't that amazing? He'll be like 11 years into his career, and it'll be the first time he plays for Canada.
Yeah.
On a major stage like that. I believe he went to the Worlds when he was younger, but that's not the equivalent of the Olympic Games or like a Canada Cup.
Is Sid even going to make that team?
I don't know if he will in 3 years. Yeah, I would guess he probably won't. He
might be retired.
He could be. He'll be 39. It may be an elder statesman thing. He may be like, if he's playing, he'll be in shape and he'll be capable of supplying something. Just he probably won't be playing a major role at that point.
I mean, he's still at 36 on fire. He scored again last night. Like it's impressive what he's doing. At some point, like you say, Hayes, this is your comment. Father Time is undefeated. At some point, the legs will fall off. But I could still see him playing at 39. He's a hockey rat. Like he's a guy who lives and breathes it. We know nothing about. We were talking off air. This Ohtani doesn't talk about anything. Well, how about Sid?
Yeah.
We know nothing about his life.
Nothing.
He's pretty like just kind of keeps to himself and does his thing. He lives and breathes hockey. That's what he does.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like when you consider what we've known about Wayne Gretzky, I think we know a fair amount about Lemieux. We knew a bunch about Lindros and his family, etc. McDavid, I think we know more about McDavid simply because of where he plays than Sid. But Sid's been kind of in the Canadian news cycle for 20 years. And outside of him just being a hockey player that was born and raised just outside of Halifax, it's like we really don't know a lot about the guy.
No, McKinnon's his buddy. That's it. Like they're on Tim Hortons commercials.
Right.
That's all. Like,
and yet incredibly likable. Like there's nothing to dislike about him. There's nothing on his resume that makes you would ever, turn on Sidney Crosby.
He just keeps it tight. Like you don't ever see a video of him at a restaurant. Nothing. It is kept tight. I don't see Austin Matthews same way. Good for him. He wants to live privately. It doesn't need garbage like that.
No. And I think that's a good example of, Pittsburgh's different than Toronto, but Matthews does live privately.
Yeah.
And he's found a way to do that within a city that is hockey crazy, where he is
Yeah.
Arguably the biggest celebrity in town, or if not, real close to it. One of the 3 or 5. Where if you were to walk through the Eaton Center on a Saturday afternoon, it would create a buzz. But, and he may be doing that. I don't know.
I don't think he does.
I don't know what he does. It's a good question. But, and it's hockey season, right? It's business. Like, it could just be we're running a business here, and 6 to 8 months a year when we're playing, we play.
I went to this place called the Hargrave on the Danforth all the time. And not one the regulars. I was a regular. I was like Norm, and not one person knew I played for the Leafs. They were just my friends, and they were like, "Hey, Jeff," and not one person ever asked or said, "Oh, is that you?"
Yeah,
nothing. We were just all regular folk the whole year.
That's great.
Hargrave.
Normie
is it still
Peterson.
Open?
I don't think
open?
so, man.
Just a little hole in the wall, though.
It
right?
was
on the
great. It was a great spot.
Yeah, the Danforth.
Shout out to the Hargrave.
Shout out to the Danforth and the Hargrave. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, Mike Johnson will join us in the next hour, and we'll ask him that if he thinks Sid, projects to be a part of Team Canada in the future. I think Sid will still keep playing. I know we've talked about this a bunch over the years. Yeah. I think he plays well into his 40s. I really do. I think he's a hockey freak. It's all he knows, all he wants. I think LeBron, Tom Brady, they're different beasts.
He's not going to pull a Yermer Jagr.
Yeah.
I think he's playing at least with something with a 4 in it.
Absolutely,
41,
he
40,
is.
41.
Absolutely.
I think he does. He is.
You guys, I'm sorry, are way off on that one.
Okay. Well, we'll see what Johnny has to say about that. Confirm or deny still to come as well. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.